Hello, I am now joined by Dylan Cuthbert, the president and founder of Q Games, of course. Thank you for joining us, Dylan.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Big Nintendo fans, obviously. We are.
Right.
So, yeah, it's really difficult to interview, isn't it? What hasn't Dylan Cuthbert been asked about Nintendo?
Yes, good. Yes.
Let's ask another 20 questions about Star Fox. Probably not. That's a good question to ask, actually. What question do you not get asked, or do you rarely get asked?
Like, like how many times I went to the restroom each day. That sounds like, yeah.
We could probably
what
skip
did
that
I eat?
one.
What did I eat in the for lunch? Or yeah. Everything else is pretty much covered.
Famitsu didn't ask you that?
Yeah. Oh no, they're not quite that deep.
So, well, I guess, the reason why, people who like Japan and Nintendo know you is because you kind of lived the dream, so to speak,
Right.
the British person that came to Japan and worked for Nintendo.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, if we could go a little bit before that.
Sure.
So, you were younger than 20 when you came to Japan, right?
Yeah, I was 18.
So, you
when
finished
I
uni?
first.
Or
I didn't go to university.
Oh, you didn't go to uni.
I was doing my A levels in East. I was in East London at the time.
Okay.
And I was doing like double math and physics, and the teacher was saying, "Well, we'll try and guide you to somewhere like Oxford or Cambridge or whatever," because I was already programming at that point.
Right.
And so they kind of sensed that I kind of knew what I was doing.
So you were programming on what?
On that time on the Amiga, and just before that the ZX Spectrum, and before that was the ZX81.
Google it, Americans.
Yes, exactly. The Sinclair Timex 1000, I think it was. I can't remember, something like that.
And that was a Christmas present, birthday present?
That was actually bought with pocket money, the ZX81.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I got it second hand with a 16K wobbly RAM pack.
Wow.
Yeah,
and that's fun. What you started programming on?
Basically, the first home computer the first thing I touched was the ZX Spectrum, because my friend had one, and he had an uncle who worked in the factory or something.
Okay.
And so he got it like as soon as it came out as like a present. And
Sounds
then
a bit dodgy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Or like my uncle in the factory, he got me one. And I used to go around to his house like practically every day, because it was so cool. Type in program listings
from magazines.
From magazines, because there were no games.
Again, Google it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We we'd type in all these things, and we'd even build up our own language for it, because we didn't know what some of it, because we were so young. I was probably like 9, maybe
Wow.
10, maybe 10, maybe 10, and it'd be like, we didn't know what the word was for like double quotes, because we just hadn't come across it.
Yeah. Well, as a 9-year-old,
so we just said we called it like those things. So we like 10 print those things, hello, those things, like that. And so we had this our own little sort of language. Little program. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then a few months of that, and I was finding it so enjoyable. I kept bugging my mum to get me something else.
But she wouldn't get it, so you saved up your
pocket. So I saved up pocket money, but she knew someone who had one to sell second hand, probably because he was getting a Spectrum. Right. Yeah, exactly, right. So I ended up getting that as a compromise.
Okay.
It cost me 60 quid of my saved up pocket money at the time.
That's probably like 600 by...
Yeah, it's like a huge amount of money now, but it was like 5 years of pocket money kind of thing.
So you started off copying stuff out of your magazines, but then slowly just adjusting the magazine stuff into your own stuff.
Yeah, and then learning and sort of like getting past the concepts of programming and how it works. And then one day I bought the BASIC was very slow on the ZX81, so I bought what I thought would speed up the BASIC, and it was an assembler. And I thought, well,
a physical thing.
Yeah, no, it's a piece of software, and it's a machine code assembler. So it's stuff you write machine code with.
Right.
I bought that thing because I'd always, as a young kid, I'd always heard that machine code is faster. In the magazines, it'd always say machine code is much faster than BASIC.
The direct route to the processor.
Yeah, but then so I thought, oh, this must just magically convert the BASIC to assembler, and everything would just run faster. And I got it, and it was not that at all.
Right,
and it forced me to learn Z80 because I bought it. I spent another 5 quid of my pocket money on it, and I started programming that, and that got me into the machine code side of things. And then from there on, I then eventually got my own ZX Spectrum and carried on from there. And then when I was about 15, I got an Amiga, and then I moved down to East London to go to a sixth form college there. And during that time, I started programming the Amiga, and I went and I applied.
So the college was using Amigas at the time?
No, so it was at home. So at the college they didn't even know. They just and that's one of the reasons why I decided to quit and join like a company, almost like the old system where you join the profession you want to learn from it. And there was a company called Argonaut Software, of course, and they did 3D games, and I played a few of them, and they were really good. And so I decided to apply for a job there, because I thought, I'll be able to learn a lot more there, I think, than I will at this school that doesn't know anything about computers.
And what was the demo that you
initially I took them 2D demos, because that's all I had at the time. I hadn't done any 3D. Okay. I thought about it, but I hadn't done it. And the 2D demos were pretty good fun and pretty cool.
What kind of thing?
Like platformers, like a sort of like Turrican style. This is on the ZX Spectrum. So one I made on the Spectrum was a Turrican style kind of game where you kind of strafe shoot monsters and go between stages. And then on the
Amiga, top down or side?
Side view. And then on the Amiga there was like a sort of a game where you're kind of shooting balls around on the screen and something like that. Just simple. That was a bit more simple because I kind of rushed it for the interview. But they were really impressed with them. But they said, well, we really need someone who can do the 3D already, right? And so I went back home, sort of rejected. But I then thought, well, okay, I'll try and do some 3D. And so
so where does the Game Boy come into it at that point?
So that's a bit. So that comes. So I go back to Z80 after this. So I made this on a 3D demo on the Amiga, and I sent it in on disk back to Jez San and Argonaut, and I said, well, I've made a 3D demo now, give me a job. And the next day Jez called up and he just said, oh, okay, I saw your demo, it's great, okay, start tomorrow. And I was still at school at that point, and I thought, okay.
That was 3D demo was an Amiga demo again?
Yeah, and I just quit that and went. And so when I was at Argonaut, I helped out first of all on a few of their things like Starglider 2 and stuff like that. But then the Game Boy, Jez sort of discovered the Game Boy at a CES, and he brought one back and he says, we're going to develop games for this. This is going to be cool. You're going to do 3D on this because you know the Z80. You worked on the Sinclair Spectrum. And so he knew.
Where's the correlation there? I don't see.
It's a Z80. It's in the Game Boy. In the Game Boy, yeah. So the Game Boy has a Z80 in it. Right. And so I went back to my roots and
that's Gunpei Yokoi using old
chips, old chips basically. Exactly, like 10 years after, right? And that's where it all kicked off. And then I looked up a 3D demo on the Game Boy. Nintendo saw it and they flew me out.
How did they see that?
At CES again.
So just publicly,
back then they were
fast and saw it.
I think Jez was hustling a bit more than that. Yeah, but there were two. There were 2 CSs a year, the winter and the summer CS. Right. And Jez would be at every one, and he would just take anything he had and go around and try and show it to people, as many people as possible. And at one point it got into the hands of a kind of a new, sort of very hungry kind of producer at Nintendo America called Tony Harmon. Okay. And he ended up quickly showing it to the actual people who made the Game Boy. And they were like, how the hell did you do that? Because it was like so beyond their imagination of what was capable on the machine. Because they just designed it as like.
Yokoi was obviously.
Yokoi and Izushi. It's like he's like the second in command. He's the one who kind of more of an engineer type. He's like the original programmer of the Game & Watch, the flip up stuff and stuff like that. But they saw that and they said, well, okay, we'll fly him over. Let's meet him. And so like 2 weeks after that, they flew us over and I landed in Kyoto for a week and got like the full tour, met Miyamoto and Yokoi and like a whole bunch of other people at Nintendo.
I think the story after that, I think we've heard that.
Yeah,
story
exactly.
It's interesting to hear before that.
Yeah, they're kind of like the build up.
The prequel.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that.
The early days of the gaming industry.
Right. I'm a big fan of the FX chip and stuff. Congratulations on your brand new game, Star Fox 2.
Yes, exactly, right. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Just finished it last year. Finally got to the last bit of code on that.
Just the last.
We just couldn't work out what to do, and we finally slotted it in place, and it just
Congratulations. I saw the party, the launch party pictures. They were great.
Yes.
It was interesting because, well, not only that, but Star Fox 1, for example, was never released on any virtual console, and
that's true.
we never really heard. I don't think we ever heard an official reason for that, but it was always assumed the FX chip was, you know,
right,
not possible to program for, but like in emulation standard. But but as we all know, we've been playing some bad people have been playing it on emulators since the 90s. So it's just like, okay, well the Wii, for when it got to the Wii U, it's like, come on, the Wii U could do it. You know, if a 1990s Pentium 2 could do it.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, I don't think that. I doubt that could have been the reason. Really, it's maybe just the effort. Maybe I don't know, but there are obviously probably like off-the-shelf emulators for 658.
They never asked you for a little bit of just,
No, they never. Yeah, I thought they would, but I think they brought in a few programmers from France to do it.
So there was an attempt at some point.
The final version was the version that came out last.
Oh, but I'm talking about Star Fox 1 on the.
Oh, no, I'd never heard anything about
them
trying to do that. No, I mean they might have, but I never heard anything about it. Maybe they just didn't think about it.
And then how it came.
They could have been licensing problems as well, so I don't know, right? Because the chip itself was, it was owned by a company in Germany, I think, called like A&N or something.
Oh, okay.
And that company was like half owned by Argon and half owned by Nintendo. And so there could have been some there could have been some sort of legal complication there, maybe, but I haven't heard anything directly. But I'd love to know.
I hope it comes out on the Switch or something like that.
It'd be great on the Switch, on that screen,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
get a good frame rate,
Finally
up to 60 frames a second.
11 frames.
We actually knocked up a demo on the 3DS.
Really?
Yeah.
To get the 3D version.
Yeah, we took the Star Fox ROM probably from some illegal source on the net, and then we emulated it just to see what could be done with it.
On the 3DS.
On the 3DS,
to get that in 3D.
And it ran in 3D and at 60 frames a second as well.
Well, I guess you got inspiration because they're pushing that 3D classics label. What would make a good 3D classic? Star Fox
so we
1,
spent a month or two doing that.
Absolutely.
Just to see what happens. We showed it to Nintendo, but they weren't interested, unfortunately, at that point. Probably maybe the timing was a bit wrong. Maybe it's a bit later would have been.
It's probably that and the oh my god, what's it called? The Virtual Boy. Those are the two most obvious things to put on the 3DS. Never happened.
Yeah.
So what's interesting when you look at your career, if you zoom out in your career, it's like Nintendo. And then there's a stop, and then there's Sony, and then there's your new game now, Pixel Junk Monsters 2, which is Nintendo again. So
it's also on PlayStation as well. So we've gone sort of multi-platform for that now.
So I don't know anyone else in the industry who has done this kind of perfect 50-50 split of Super Nintendo, and then all Sony. Well, some of the stuff was actually that split was like Wii. It wasn't before. Wii.
Yeah, it was about the Wii point, about sort of 3DS, and we did Star Fox 3DS. And after that, we started making the Tomorrow's Vision for Sony on PS4.
Your first Q Games game was a Sony game or Nintendo game?
It was a Nintendo game. So Digidrive on the Game Boy. On the Game Boy version as well. So there's a DSiWare version as well, but the Game Boy version. But it was actually released, I think it came out maybe it came out after Star Fox Command or about the same time, but we'd made it a year earlier. So it felt like we'd just suddenly released two games on Nintendo at the same time. But we'd actually launched it earlier. And we'd done experiments with Nintendo before that as well that didn't get released. But it was kind of fun. We were doing a lot of kind of experiments directly with Nintendo at that point. And then we did the Game Boy Digidrive, and then we also did a DSiWare version of that, and we also did what's it called? The names are different in different territories, like Trajectile and
Tentacles.
Starship Defender and X Returns, or I think it was Escape, maybe in America. But these are really, I'm really proud. Actually, amongst all the games we've made, I think. I'm actually particularly proud of those. There's those games that we made in that period of time. We did them all in 1 year. We made 4 games in 1 year for DSiWare, and they were all really highly rated. But because they were DSiWare, hardly anyone played them.
Well, you couldn't find it on the shop, so
it
wasn't your fault.
Exactly. So if they're still there, go get them. Go buy them now. They run on the 3DS. There might
be a cut-off point for that, right?
Yeah, they run on the 3DS though, I think. So they should still be there, maybe. Or maybe I don't know.
The shop itself might not
be there. Yes, exactly.
So that kind of gradual transition from Nintendo to Sony, was it kind of like the Wii era? It was more like it was very restricted in terms of like what you could do. Was it more that kind of reason, like creative restrictions?
Yeah, you couldn't self-publish, so not really. And with PSN, suddenly we had the chance to self-publish. Right, so, and even Microsoft, it was hard to self-publish. You know, you still had they still had a lot of restrictions.
Yeah, but certain things had to be in.
Yeah, and you had to like have a publisher like in between or something. So, but with PSN, it really could just be us publishing, and we kind of broke the mold and forced. We were like the first really small developer to do our own publishing on PSN. And
what was the relationship between you and Nintendo? Because obviously you had a lot of friends at Nintendo, but then you're obviously not making any Nintendo games anymore.
Yeah, well, they kind of crossed over. So when we were doing the Pixel Junk stuff, we actually did, like morally speaking, we could do both because I mean they're both just now. We weren't taking money from Sony or anything at that point, so it was fine. But when we did the Tomorrow Children, which is more of a joint development effort. That's when we kind of said, okay, well, we can't do any more Nintendo stuff at the moment. Okay, right. But that was only like a recent period. So that's maybe like a 4 or 5 year period when we were making the Tomorrow Children. But now that's finished. We can, as you can see with like Monsters 2, we can actually do Switch stuff now. We're playing another couple of Switch titles as well. Awesome. But we can't say what they are yet.
Demo available now?
Yes.
On the Japanese eShop?
Yes, Monsters 2 is out now. And it's out in Europe as well. And I think America should be very soon. But
that's cool. It's good to have you back.
Exactly,
As a
right?
Nintendo fan.
Exactly. So we're going to, so that's it really. We're going to be making even more stuff. And I personally really love the Switch. So
yeah, it's a nice system.
Exactly, yeah. No, it's going to be good.
It looks really good, Pixel Jam Monsters on the Switch.
It looks great. It looks really good, I think. It really stands out, I think. Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, thank you so much
it's great.
for being with us. And until next time.
Okay, thank you.
See ya. Thank you.
Cheers.